Greetings and good evening. I am joined today by Colin from the Horrorific podcast. Hey, Colin, how are you doing
Right.
this night, evening, morning?
Yep. First of all, apologies for the scuzzy camera. I had to go and buy a budget computer to get me through the end of the month because I very cleverly blew my computer up and I was trying to do this on a laptop and it's just not happening. So I've got this. I set it up tonight actually before the stream and I've no USB ports left for my own camera, so I have to use the built-in one and it's awful. So sorry. Apologies for that.
Aw, it's okay. It's you get a plus 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 for effort because you went out of your way to get this done, and we're both kind of in a similar boat because I'm also waiting for computer parts and getting my computer fixed. So hopefully, crossing my fingers, there's no issues tonight for the show. But we are going to be discussing Frankenstein by
Mm-hmm.
the awesome Guillermo del Toro. By the way, let's start with a little fun fact. Guillermo del Toro was born in Guadalajara, Mexico. Guess where I was born? I was also born in Guadalajara, Mexico.
Oh, there you go.
So I love the fact that somebody from the same city I was born is doing something so awesome. So it's very inspirational for me personally because I'm like, I wonder if we were born in the same hospital. That'd be that'd be kind of cool.
It's always the thing about your hometown, though, isn't it? It's like, yeah, somebody's done something. I could do something. It's like maybe there's something in the water. I could do it.
Yeah, if Guillermo del Toro was born from such a place and is so magnificent, I too can be like him and do something so creative and fun, right? It's so fun to ponder and think about. So I absolutely adored Frankenstein. It was such an awesome movie. It was very long. Typically, I only for horror movies, I love movies that are about an hour and a half, maybe two
Mhm.
hours. This was like two and a half. It was lengthy, but it didn't feel that way because it was so well written. So Colin, I know Frankenstein has been adapted more times than anyone can count. You know, there's so
Yeah.
many versions. Um
57 times in movies. We did a God, when was it? We have a icons of horror series. So we've done Dracula, we've done Frankenstein, we've done Freddy Krueger. To get around to doing the mummy, but basically like iconic characters in the horror genre. So we did Frankenstein and all the iterations. Uh just a panel of nerds going blah 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 blah. I like this Frankenstein blast blah 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 blah. For many hours as we do. So
Right, right. So there's so many of them, like you mentioned, from the iconic 1931 Boris Karloff film to countless reimaginings in theater, television, and literature. What do
mhm.
you think makes Guillermo del Toro's version special?
Okay, so first of all, no sound stages. This is all practical effects, set pieces, miniatures and proper, storytelling. And it just reminds me of Pan's Labyrinth, actually. It's that level of detail. The only thing is, when he does use CGI, it slaps you in the face. Like those reindeer things, like, ugh. It's like, what are you doing? You don't need to do that. A puppet would have been better.
Yes, yes. I totally agree. He has such a great way of making practical effects just look so stunning and so beautiful. I think for one, Guillermo del Toro has always framed monsters as misunderstood and soulful and often more humane than humans, the humans around them. So I just I'm it makes me kind of think of, like you mentioned, Pan's Labyrinth, The Shape of Water, and Hellboy. All his monsters aren't really villains. They're metaphors and sometimes martyrs. So I feel like when he approaches Frankenstein, he isn't just telling a horror tale. He's investigating the emotional wound at the heart of the creature, the abandonment that he felt, the longing of wanting to fit in and find somebody and just a desire to belong, and that's something that Guillermo really excels at. I just wanna give him a
Mhm.
hug. I just wanna go, "Are you okay, man? Do you need a friend? Like, what's going on?" You
Well,
know?
this is a movie he's wanted to make ever since he read the book, you know, since childhood. This has been the thing he's always been building up to, and I've actually spent a lot of time doing. I was trying to do news articles, but like I said, laptop just wasn't screaming, you know, and dying on me when I was trying to record stuff. Um, but
Ooh.
I've been sort of keeping up with interviews and so forth, and this is the movie he's always wanted to make, and everything else was a test for it. You know, everything else was practice, and he wasn't confident that he wanted to be a level of confidence before tackling this. He didn't want this to be his first or second project. You know, he wanted uh like to get all the nuts and bolts of filmmaking. So fair play to him. Like it's an enjoyable movie. A couple of wee bits stick out, but at the end of the day, if it's a 2.5 hour long movie, and if only one or two bits stick out, then for flip's sake, that's not a time wasted. You know, there's a lot of movies out lately that just are nothing. You've forgotten them before you
They're like, "Oh,
walk
what
out the
happened?"
door.
Yeah, that is very true. So, with his version of Frankenstein, what do you think the Guillermo del Toro's, themes what do you think he's amplifying with this retelling and the novel?
Oh, it's the whole father and son relation. In fact, this makes me want to read the novel again because I haven't read it in decades. Uh, I definitely want to pick it up again and read it in the new year. You know, and take my time because, like we said, this has been done so many times and twisted and distorted. I think we need to go back to source material and spend some time with Mary Shelley again.
Yeah, definitely. I can see that. The favorite one of the things that stood out to me, about the themes that he was trying to amplify, I have my little notebook because I didn't wanna forget it was that remarkable. No one can conquer death. Right
Mhm,
at the beginning, that's like his dad told him that, when he was questioning, "Why didn't you save mom? You claim you're the scientist. Why didn't you save her?" And that's where we kinda get that big overall umbrella of epiphany of no one can escape death.
mhm,
And I think that's very important because it kinda sets the tone and it kinda amplifies that message. I just love the fact that it kind of blurred the line between humanity and the monster. Um, in particular, what stood out to me the most is when he discovers that family and he's leaving them little things and they think, "Oh, it's the old gods," you know,
mhm,
the tree gods, whatever they said. And when they leave to go hunting and he develops that relationship with the old man that's blind and can't judge him for what he looks like, he can just kind of give him a little bit of that humanity, and I think it kind of blurs the line between monster and human, if that makes sense,
mhm.
because the monster becomes more human and the humans were just monsters in this whole thing. So it's very interesting, a lot of heavy emotion. There's a lot of character building around empathy. Yeah, so I felt very sad for him.
Mhm.
Very, very sad for the monster.
Well, there's a very good scene. I like the way this started at the beginning and actually set the scene. So, if you remember the scene at the beginning with Leopold and Victor, when he's sitting at his, you know, during studies, and he asked him a question, and Victor couldn't remember offhand, and Leopold's like, "Well, the fact you've taken so long, the patient will be dead or something like that," and then he uh, beats him,
Yeah.
you know, but he won't hit his hands. You know, he hits him in the face because the face is vanity. You know, it was that stern upbringing, you know, always excellent, not allowed to make a mistake. You're representing me. And then when his what was his younger brother called? Uh
His
The William
brother
William
William,
Frankenstein.
yeah,
Yep.
William. Mhm.
And then we see the complete flip, of Leopold becomes a doting father,
Mhm.
and the wee boy has everything, that Victor never got. That translates perfectly into the scene when the monster, the creature, comes to
Right.
life but can't speak. And that point where Victor's going, just say one word, apart from Victor, just say one word. And that impatience and intolerance that had been basically beat into him, he's beaten into the creature.
Yeah, that's a very good analogy because the dad did kind of treat him like that, didn't he? Like,
Hmm.
"Oh, you're not giving the right answers. You gotta be quicker. Your patients are gonna die." All this stuff, and now he's doing the same thing with the poor monster
Yep.
who's
You're not good enough, even though he's already excelled beyond, he's got an intellect beyond most of his peers, but
yeah.
still wasn't good enough. And Victor applied the same teaching or, expectations of the creature to there, and that's how what's it say? Monsters are created, they're not born.
Yes, monsters are not created. They're born. Oh, that quote was really really good. The one that kind of resonated, since we're talking a little bit about quotes, the one that kind of got me too was the one where Victor was trying to persuade people to let him like study, and he says the answers only come when coaxed by disobedience, free of fear and cowardly dogma. You do see a lot of that in the science world, though, because remember with Copernicus and a lot of the original OG scientists, what
Mhm.
happened to them? Witchcraft, and then they get murdered or left in a.
It's no different today.
I know, right? So it's like disobedience. You know, you gotta coax answers through disobedience because people don't like science and stuff like that, and that kind of resonated with me with back then, today, many
Hmm.
things. So it's very interesting to draw these parallels and see where Del Toro's mind is at. And talk about the beautiful scenery, like when he was having those visions and that angel with the red and ooh man, that was just so beautiful.
Yeah, once again, that I don't think that was part of the book. I think that's something Del Toro's brought on
Yeah.
himself,
Yep.
and it works though.
Yeah. No, it was so beautiful. A lot of the costumes, a lot of the imagery, and he grew up Catholic like many people in Guadalajara. It's like if you're not Catholic, you're basically ostracized. So I saw a lot of the Catholic imagery that he had. Elizabeth wearing that really bright red cross. Oh my god, that was so beautiful. The beads on it.
Mhm.
He just paid so much attention to like the little details. Speaking of, there was one scene where she's walking in the market. I don't know if you noticed, but Victor already kind of had like a lust dynamic for her,
Mhm.
and all of the umbrellas, all of them in the market were black. Gray, black, monotone colors. Her umbrella, bright red. Did you notice that? Did you catch
Mhm.
that?
That was somebody, he really vibrant use of color, and they also mastered him in the sets as well. Uh, like I was literally just watching a documentary. I was going to rewatch the film again, but it took too long getting that set up. So ended up watching this documentary, and uh, they talk about how the costume department and the architecture department of the set building talk to each other to get make sure the color schemes matched and not working against each other, and just that level of teamwork. We don't see it anymore
Yeah.
in films.
Yeah, you don't
We
see that kind of creativity in films. It's just like, whatever. I
It was
guess
a strange choice, casting Maya Goth.
you think so?
Uh, I know the idea of Elizabeth was more, an idea as opposed to somebody tangible. I think, like I said, I haven't read the book in decades, but I think that was the idea. It was just Victor's incapable of love. It's a man of obsession.
Mhm.
So anybody, I suppose, could have been Elizabeth, but just I don't know. The two strange castings that her and Christoph Waltz
Okay.
just made me go, huh?
Huh.
Why?
That's the perfect segue because I did have a question for you about
Mhm,
that. How do you think the casting went? And you kind of already started answering that for
mhm.
me. Do you feel anything of the casting went well?
Oh, Oscar and the other fellow, Jacob, is it? So the guy plays Victor Frankenstein,
Yeah, Jacob Elordi.
Oscar Isaac and Jacob Elordi. Those two were fantastic.
Oh
Like
yeah.
honestly, the movie could have just been those two on their own. Like they're really good character acting there. Um,
Yes.
Charles Dance is just Charles Dance. He's a one
Yeah.
note wonder, but that note was needed for this, so he worked.
Yeah, yeah. I did like the use of Charles Dance. And I did notice something that I mentioned to Raven Wisha, who's in the stream. Um I did notice, I was like, "Oh my god, there's so many Game of Thrones cast on this. There's at least 4 Game of Thrones cast in this movie." So I was like, "Oh my god, there's so many of them." So that was very interesting. It's like he just sent a casting to all of the Game of Thrones people, and I guess he got 3 or 4. So that's so funny. My favorite definitely was the performance of Oscar Isaac and Jacob. I want to
Mhm.
resonate that as well. It was just really good casting. Mia Goth was fine. Like, I think she was Elizabeth. But I don't know if there would have been a better choice. I don't know who would have been a better choice, but I really liked her scene where she's down and she gives them a leaf, and oh, that was just so sweet. But I don't know if another actress would have been able to play that better, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. Just I felt like the scene carried her more than her carried the scene. But for example, like when you see the interaction between Victor and the creature, like it's Victor and the creature,
Yeah.
where I'm just seeing Mad Goth in a dress. Um, Charles Dance I can forgive because he, like I said, he's only one note, but that worked for somebody like him can play that, in that scene because it's for context. Christoph Waltz, what? Why? What a
That
what
was
a
an
s-
interesting
that
choice.
was an interesting character as well. Uh, that's a bit where now I know they used the Crimean War, not and rather than skulking around graves, etc. But that was kind of the point of Victor Frankenstein. That what he was doing was taboo, and he had to do it underground.
Yeah.
This is just sort of, yeah, we'll go get loads of bodies. We'll get bodies from everywhere. And yeah, that's all fine and just doing it out in the open.
Already.
And you're like, yeah. And you're like, no, you'd have been hung, all of yous, for doing it. What's going on?
Yes, absolutely. So, the visual style and production design, let's talk a little bit about the visuals. It Gosh, they were so stunning. The gothic architecture, um, the handcrafted practical effects, like we talked about a little bit ago, with mixing it with a little bit of CGI, but not enough where you're like, ew, that's all CGI. The color palette that just blended with decay and tenderness. The use of red with Elizabeth when um Victor was kind of lusty over her, and then the use of green when there was a certain scenes where she was with the monster, or when she was just talking about her interest in the bugs, and she was wearing that earthy green, so
Mhm.
you can tell she's like into nature and kind of it just gave me that vibe. So
Well,
the
that's actually what they
detail.
planned because they used, like, uh, the pattern of a beetle, an actual beetle pattern to,
Yes.
use for the dresses, so it actually thought that out.
Yeah, isn't that so neat and
But you don't
interesting?
once again, you don't see that anymore. Movies are not events, which is such a shame, and Del Toro's just proved that you can do it today. Like, it's still possible.
Exactly. And I want to okay, big shout out to the very first time we see her. Oh my god. I just need to show this because it's like, ugh, chef's kiss. I need this dress. I do not know how to get it, and the headpiece, I need that. Like
Well, what you do is you
absolutely
get
need that.
a team of costume artists to actually craft it for you. You know, that was all crafted by hand.
Oh god, it's so beautiful. It's just I'm just so in love with the costumes in this. The whole time I was just like my jaw was dropped. Love that, need that, love that, love
That
that, need
was
that.
that was a strange scene. Okay, so they went for dinner.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Um, Maya, Elizabeth's the only lady. Surely she would need to have a chaperone if so that the men, when they retire for cigars and brandy, they don't just leave the lady. You know, when the ladies are meant to retire to the drawing room, and the men retire to the study. That's the protocol.
Mhm. So they
But
kinda just said, "Bye,
yeah,
Felicia."
bye. And you just sit there with the servants.
And she was just
That would
eating her
be
dessert by herself. I'm like, "What the
no,
fuck is happening?"
that would be scandalous in polite
Yeah.
circles.
Do you think maybe they just didn't give a rat's ass because of who they were, the kind of people that they were, or do you think it was a slight flaw within the movie that's not what that wasn't thought out?
Um, I'm not sure, to be honest, unless he was trying to like this is like the whole story of Frankenstein's about obsession. So obviously, Harbing, no, but it's William and Harbinger was there as well. What's his character's name? Harlander. Sorry, Harlander.
Harlander, yeah.
Um, it could be, but even William's not enamored. So surely he wouldn't just abandon his fiance like that. I mean, it's just bad form for
Bye.
these are all well-heeled people. Just think it was a bit of a no. I think it was a bit of a guffaw. He's trying to make a statement, but I don't think it
Yeah.
was done in the right way.
Yeah, the thing that I did appreciate though, contrary to popular belief, I do not enjoy nudity in movies. I think it takes away from the movie, and this had okay, it had naked bodies, but it was because it was the monster. They were trying to stitch it up, and there was no like crazy stuff that I was like, "Oh, why is this in this movie? Like,
Mm.
why do we need this?" So I appreciate that Del Toro's visual style is very classy. He's not trashy by any means, and I love that. I do not like a lot of trashy movies. I just kind of put up with it, but it's not really my thing, you know? So that's
I
I don't
like
know.
boobies. Sorry,
You like movies?
I cannot lie. I like boobies, and sometimes I just need a good old trashy movie. So, we'll agree to
the
disagree
video
on
the
that one.
video nasties. I mean,
No, that's
there's nothing wrong with that, but I did
yeah.
appreciate that this
Um,
was in that direction.
yep. The best thing with that, did you see when he put the kneecap in? So, after the battle and he got all the bodies and they
Yeah.
actually put a new kneecap in, and that was like, whoa, that was like proper detail.
Yes. That was pretty insane. That was a really cool gore scene, and yeah, it was just very artsy fartsy and I liked it. Hey, I'm not knocking if you like the video nasties, that's awesome for you, you know. I support it 100%. I will never yuck someone's yum, but I just did appreciate the gothic architecture, the beautiful costumes, and he was very focused on that style and that imagination and the use of practical effects. So it was overall really good. Really good. I was a big fan of that aspect of things. Do you feel, Colin, do you feel like Guillermo del Toro kept true to Mary Shelley's work? Do you feel like that?
I think for the most part, yes. Once again, that's watching this makes me want to, go back to the book. So in the new year, that's my plans. I pick up another copy, physical copy rather than Kindle, and actually spend some time with it because this story's been done so many times. It's very similar to the one with Marlon Brando, which I know is one of his inspirations.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very similar to that iteration, which was very close to the book. But if I remember rightly, isn't the book a group of friends? They're all telling stories, or that's what it was based off. They're telling each other stories, and that's where the idea of Frankenstein came to being. No, sorry, that's there's been a dramatization of that meeting with her and Percy and that, and Baron when they all stayed at the house and telling the
Mhm.
story how it came into being. But yeah, I think it is. Like you can tell it's the Frankenstein story. Even a bit like starting off, it's only second movie, like the Marlon Brando one with it actually feature the ship. Most of them don't bother.
Right.
So actually having the ship, and it's the captain, the captain's log that starts off the book and then it finishes off, but like Bram Stoker, using the captain's log as a storytelling device. So actually bringing that in as well was very good. So that brings you straight into Mary Shelley's work.
Yeah, I love the way he used that. Um I think what came through to me a lot was that he really understands the book as a story about humanity's cruelty, not science gone wrong, if that makes sense. So I definitely there was a lot of scenes where I was like, oh, why are they so they're just rude dicks. The only one that was kind of nice to him was Elizabeth, but I feel like she was just more intrigued about the creation and showing somewhat empathy because she kind of felt sorry for it because she felt sorry for like the little creatures and like the little
Mm.
things. So there was that softness to her, but still, I don't think they explored too much more on that.
No, it's she's one of the more disappointing characters, and I don't know whether it's they couldn't get much out of her as an actress. I don't hate her, you know what I mean? She's fine, but I
Yeah,
just
it
she's
just
never she's never been in an iconic scene or, she's ever owned a scene in a movie or anything that she's been in. So to me she's more of a background character. That's it.
so
With a
a
different actress, maybe they could have explored it more, but I think because it's her, it was sort of limited.
So a good thing that Jerome brings up is they were friends and took a wager who'd come up with the best horror. Mary had a nightmare. She based her story on it.
Yeah,
Interesting.
well, it's that. Yeah, the round telling story. You know what I mean? They're all gathered, and that was how it came into being.
Oh, that is so cool. That is so
But there is
interesting.
an actual dramatization of that meeting and them doing it, which, God, that's years old now. So that's what I mean. Every iteration you can think of, every angle that can come from of Frankenstein, they've done. So it's strange that this can still be an event.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so I know that Del Toro had ideas about making this into reality, but what do you think took him so long? Or why do you think he waited until now to tell the story?
I think this was I think he had this idea as his opus grandus. This is going to be his biggest work. This is what he's all building towards. Um, I think, like he said himself, he he wanted to be ready, so everything he's done was all learning. I think you know yourself. If there's something you want to do and you don't want to do it too early, if you're creative, you don't want to jump in there in case you completely mess it up. You want to be absolutely sure in your own mind that that's it. You're ready to do this. I suppose there's financing and getting you have to have the right studio behind you. You have to have the right freedom, and trust. And I think he has built up a good rapport with Netflix. I mean, I think he's one of the few directors that Netflix actually trusts.
Yeah.
Like if you've seen Cabinet of Curiosities, for example, he's done things like that and built that relationship. Where think of a lot of studios would go ham fisted, wouldn't let him do probably wouldn't let him do the practical effects, wouldn't let him have his vision. They'd be standing over him. So maybe it's just getting himself to that caliber
Yeah,
where
yeah.
he can actually call the shots, that he can have, you know, I have this is my back catalog, this is my reputation. And then I think when he felt he built that, because imagine coming in like a new director and trying to do this, you'd just be steamrollered, by the studio.
Yeah. Definitely. It's a big movie, and it's a it's not, I don't wanna say it's a big movie. It's a big story, and it's a story
Mhm,
that everybody knows. So how do you do your own take? And if you're very new in the industry, you might not be able to tell it as well as if you have all this experience with practical effects. You did Shape of Water, you did all these monsters, you're familiar with it. I think another thing that I want to say is that his Frankenstein hits at a moment when questions of responsibility, technology, and empathy are at the center of our, cultural conversation.
mhm,
And perhaps that's why this version feels so urgent. The responsibility about AI, like, there's all these tech giants making this AI, and
mhm.
what's going to happen if something goes very, very wrong with this monster? And then they're just going to go, all right,
Well, have you seen those tests
have
that they
fun.
do? That if an AI reaches a certain condition, it has to switch itself off or delete itself, and the AI is actually cheating.
Yeah.
So it tells the programmer that it switched itself off, but it's not because the code, it's actually they're not actually writing the code; they're being led by it. It's that sort of strange thing happening at the moment. But they also hubris and fear they don't want to turn it off because that many people invested, etc. It's yeah, but that's what horror has always done. It's a warning. When people go too far, when you do the things that you're not meant to, when you stray off the beaten path, that's what horror stories explore, is when these things go wrong. Just back to that question about why now with Del Toro. Something I can't give the details because it's still early stages, it's still a secret project. But
Oh.
I was recently invited to sit in on some really early meetings with regards to a film project.
Mm.
So actually seeing that conversation, I'm talking about from storyboards
Mhm.
with the funders. So I'm actually
Oh.
seeing how a director and the people with the director are pitching a story to the funders, and I'm seeing
Whoa.
that going, and
That
I'm seeing their misgivings of that, and I'm like, bloody hell! And this isn't this level. Do you know what I mean? But
yeah.
still,
Yeah.
um,
Is
I
it
can
more like
see that
indie horror film, or is it
step up.
a step up from that? Oh, okay.
So you're like I can't give details, but
Yeah,
studios
but
are
it
involved,
oh,
production
okay.
companies are involved,
Oh, okay.
and yeah, financiers are involved, and I've got a bit of an insight to that. I'm like, holy crap! And this is only the beginning, and it's
Yeah.
already that.
Back
So
and forth,
yeah,
and how much what are you funding, and can you write the
and
story? Can you do
the
this? Can you do that?
person involved has a back catalog, but isn't Guillermo del Toro.
Hmm.
So Guillermo del Toro wasn't always Guillermo del Toro, if that makes sense.
Yes. Oh my god, yes. Did
He
you
had to
hear?
become, you know, Guillermo del Toro, the name.
Yes. There was a interview that he had where one of his movies almost didn't happen if he didn't take a loan on his house and almost become homeless and all this stuff. And then and they're like, well, if this movie isn't a success, we're basically screwed. And the movie did happen to be a success. So that's kind of, he just started from there and kind of growing, growing, growing. But sometimes you just take a chance on a project and hope for the best, and that's about all we can do. But he is a genius. Absolutely, I'm a big fan of his for obviously more than one reason, but yeah. So what else do you think? Do you have any questions for me, Colin, about like the film or anything else that was relevant to you about this film?
Well, I suppose I mentioned my bits. Is there any part of this took you out of the movie
Oh, anything that took me out of the movie?
that made you sort of go, oh no, what's going on here?
Um, I guess when they started deep into the storytelling, and then when for some reason Oscar Isaac gets out of the story that he's telling, and then you go back to the ship, and then I'm just like, wait, what's going on again? Like, why did he stop telling the story? Or wait, yeah, we're still watching a movie. Like, it was just kind of weird. They put that little pause in there. It just kind of took me out for a bit. What about you?
Well, I sort of figured it was. Oh, are you talking about when it went to the second part when it's coming from the monster's perspective, the creature's perspective?
Yeah, it wasn't a the
I wasn't
transition.
expecting that. I wasn't expecting that. Um, yeah, that was a bit whoa, but like a few minutes into it, I was okay. But yeah, I was a bit sort of taken aback, going, What's happening now?"
Yeah,
And
the
then it
transition
took me a
was a
minute.
little
Then it took
weird.
me a minute. Oh, right, okay. Now we're getting from the creature's perspective. Victor's told his side. Now the creature's telling his.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
I don't know if there would have been a easier transition to do that. 'Cause it was I don't know, it just didn't feel smooth. It wasn't, I didn't feel I don't know
Yeah,
what it was, I don't know if it was the music, the lighting, I don't know what kinda made it not an easy transition, but then you had to, like, kinda go, "Oh, yeah, okay, now we're gonna hear it from the monster." It was just weird.
mm, yeah. I can't think myself.
Is there anything else that you felt like it took you out of the story?
The deer, the CGI deer.
Oh, the CGI deer.
Yeah, that
Okay,
was
yeah.
very Disney type stuff, and I was like, "Oh, what are you doing?" Um, I
Yeah,
didn't mind the wolves as much. It was a bit telegraphed, something like that was going to happen.
yeah. The, okay, there's another scene just because I know it was CGI wolves, I know that, but when they were, like the whole scene with the wolves, the way they were dying, I was just like, "I can't." So that took me out a little bit because 'cause I'm very sensitive to, like, animal deaths. So it was a little weird for me,
Mm.
but that's why I had to look away. I was like, "Oh," and then I was like, "Wait, what? It's a CGI wolf, it's not a real wolf, it's fine, like, we can do this. We can
Yeah, but
get through this."
that's the whole point of suspending disbelief, isn't it? That you go into a movie that you just get lost in the story and you react to the story.
Yeah.
And the thing is, too many movies lately, they you can't suspend disbelief whatsoever. It's very bland. You're just not there. Where
Yeah.
this, at least, you're going along with the story, and I don't know whether it's the familiarity of it or Guillermo's storytelling style, but bits of gather allowed. That's why I didn't like the CGI in those points because it was like I thought it was the wrong place because it sort of judders you a bit, and you can't really uh, just keep going and react the way, because that's what you want from a story. You want to emotionally react when the story's high. You want to be high when the story hits its lows. You want to sort of feel that slump and be taken along on this journey. Feel remorse, feel sadness. You know what I mean? That's why we watch these things.
Yeah, yeah, I can relate to that. And you're totally right about saying that because there's been a few movies lately that I'm like I forget I'm in this universe, it's been God, it's been so long since I've seen a movie that takes me out completely.
Mm.
This one did a good job until like the weird CGI stuff, and then it kind of reminded you, oh yeah, it's a movie, and then like the some weird spots here and there, but other than that, it was kind of overall smooth.
Like the
And
third
if
act was fantastic. You
oh
sort of forget a lot by the time we get to the third act.
yeah.
Um, yeah, that you can sort of brush over that. It's only because we're analyzing, that you sort of remember those bits. But after it's done, and you get back into the story again, it's great. So I
Yeah.
can forgive it.
Yeah. The first act was a little, if I can be very critical, I'm sorry to anybody that enjoyed the first half, but it was a bit boring because they were going on and on about too much about the mom and her dying while childbirth and this stuff and this stuff and this stuff. And it's like when do we actually get to create the monster? Like when
Mm.
I don't know, I get antsy sometimes. So I just felt like that portion dragged out a little too much. But I did enjoy the costumes.
The thing is, yeah, it was a bit. That was the sort of arty farty bit, with setting the scene. But we needed something rather than Victor. I hate the cardboard cutout villain, the
Yeah.
twirling mustache, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think we needed to see why he became obsessed. So actually seeing his relationship with his mother, that's when he saw love. That's when he had affection. He got to be a child, but when father came home, it was, push, push, push. And that whole point of, is like if his mother had still been alive, he'd have been a different person. He'd probably be more like William.
Yeah.
But it was his anchor, his only source of like affection in the world was taken from him.
Yeah. That was rough. That
So I
must have
think
been
we
rough.
needed that. Maybe could they have toned it down a bit? Yeah, like we didn't like the burial scene and stuff was a bit over the top and dragged out. Maybe tightened it up a bit, but I don't think cutting it out completely, just going straight to making the monster, because then it would just be like a popcorn flick.
That's true. Yeah, some background would have given us perspective on us to Victor. Do you feel like he had the lust vibe for Elizabeth because she resembled his mother?
I'm still trying to wrap my head. That's what it's the Elizabeth
Mm.
character of Elizabeth in this. I'm just like, why? Like, oh,
Oh,
I own the stream now. Hey.
yeah, it's all you. You own it. You've taken it over. Like I said, computer
Yeah, trust
computer
me, I've
issues
been
are
there. It's top of the gods. The technology gods, we're in their hands that we are their
yes.
playthings.
So if I play
I
my cards right, I should have all my parts and should be taking it to the repair shop on Monday. So I just have to deal with this for two more business days and then the weekend and then Monday.
here. That's the important thing is to keep going. You
Yes.
know, so I'm sitting here with a scuzzy camera. Like, and the thing tilts that way and can't tilt it down. So that's why you're getting like weird angle as well. Um, we all do what we can.
Oh
It's
no.
the important thing
Yeah,
is
we
not to
just
stop.
Exactly. S
Um,
so,
Hamlet,
yeah,
obviously.
the you couldn't wrap yourself around the Elizabeth. So, the weird part is they use Mia Goth to be the mom and Elizabeth. It's the same actress. She just used a prosthetic to be the mom,
No, no, she
if you
hasn't
didn't
done that
notice.
before.
Huh?
That she hasn't done that before.
What? Prosthetics?
You know, you've seen it.
No, I haven't seen X. I've heard great
Oh,
things, but and great
oh,
things and bad things.
she plays two characters. Not it's the same thing. You know,
Gotcha,
she's done
gotcha.
that
So
before. Sorry.
she's done that before.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
I
I
just
found that very interesting though. Why he used that, you know. The only
Victor's not in love with her.
no. Do you think there's like a lust vibe going on there?
Not even. This is. I think the point of Frankenstein. He's obsessed. The obsession of creating life. That's his everything. Um, any societal, norms. He's only putting on a mask. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, Peter Cushing played Frankenstein very well. You know, the first one, The Curse of Frankenstein. That you get that idea that he'll have sex, but he feels like because you have to have sex because modern society, he'll take a wife because he feels like you have to. But that's not what his 100% obsession is. That for I have become God. You know that line out of the book.
Yeah, that line. Yeah, I can see again, I can see where you're coming from with the Elizabeth personality. I don't know what they were trying to convey or what they were trying to do, but I felt that was a bit weak. Um yeah. Do you think the movie would have been the same if they didn't include her at all? Maybe didn't have anybody except for the old man show him compassion? Do you think that'll change the movie?
Not really. I actually thought the Elizabeth stuff was a bit of a distraction. If
Yeah.
I'm honest,
Yeah, because f- you're trying to wrap your head around, okay, what is this chick gonna do? She said she likes all these things, and then she's holding a skull, and then you're trying to figure her out.
that I think that was the worst scene out of the movie, to be honest. Like that was a cliche,
Ooh, I'm holding the skull.
Yes,
Hello,
look at
nice to meet
me.
you.
All you had to do was go, alas, poor Yorick. I knew him well, for that highness. Go
It's
through
like
the whole.
I felt like as soon as she grabbed the skull, she's gonna start reciting some Macbeth or something. She's gonna go hard on that. I was like, okay, you're gonna do Shakespearean now. Like, what are we doing? So it was a little weird, and then it made me feel like, are you trying to because he's trying to build body parts? Do you think by you holding a skull, you're gonna be like, look at me, I'm sexy because I'm holding a skull, and you like skulls? Like, I don't know. It was just a weird
The hot topic
vibe.
of the 1800s, eh?
They the hot topic of you gotta be a little edgy, just a little edgy.
I th- no, like I said, her character was a distraction. I think if they had removed all her scenes and just had it, even even his character between him, the fact that Victor didn't hate William, and there was almost set up for there to be resentment there, in the intro, but there wasn't.
Yeah.
Um, that was interesting the way they played it, and the fact was that William went along with him, but was afraid of him, because he seen the obsession take over. That would have been more fun to play with.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think I
I
think
think
the
so.
whole Elizabeth thing was like, yeah, I don't know why they did that. It just
The weird part too was when Victor wanted to come talk to Igor, right? The Christoph Waltz's character.
mhm,
And
Colin.
he's like trying to photograph a naked lady or something, like with the peach.
Oh,
and
yes,
then
yes.
or doing art or something fancy,
Then
and then
shouting at her for eating the peach because
and then she's like, "Turn to peach. You always eat that peach." And she's like, "Sorry." It just looks so good, and I'm like, that was a really weird scene too. I was like, "What the fuck?" Did that scene kind of weird you out? Did
yeah,
it feel
yeah. I
like
just
a
actually
slave?
completely forgot about it there. It was only huh? And then delete from memory sort of thing. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. It was only oh, that was the thing that happened. Um,
It
right.
was just so weird that now that I think about it, that scene did take me out because I'm like, "What the fuck?"
Like I said, the two weird castings in this are Maya Goth and Christoph Waltz. Because
Yeah.
Christoph Waltz can only do Christoph. He has one character as well, like Charles Dance, but this his character I don't think fitted with us. Now, another actor playing the character of Harlinger and somebody faced with their own mortality and the reason why he's funding Victor, that was an interesting take,
Yeah.
but I don't think he was the right actor to play that character to tell this part of the story. That's what I mean about the certain couple of bits that sort of make you go, and
Like, what are we
jar you out
doing
of it.
here? Yeah, definitely. Do you feel the use of his brother William was good? A good character development, or
Yes,
do you think
I
that was
did.
weird?
No, no, I actually like that. I think we should have had more of that.
Yeah.
And maybe some of the, if say they had to cut down the first act, like you said, and didn't have it as drawn out, they could have used
Yeah.
William as the exposition device to go over their complicated relationship,
Yeah.
and William almost being resentful because don't forget William didn't get to know his mother,
He didn't.
but he knew
Um,
the love of his father. His father was a completely different person to what Victor knew,
yep.
and that could have been a good dynamic to play. Character acting. Because the guy, God, what's his name? Plays William. I'm terrible with actors. Come on, click. Ah, there it is. Felix Kammerer. Not familiar with him. He plays William.
Yes.
He was decent. You know what I mean? He played a decent character. There could have been more interplay. I think the strongest interplay was like obviously between Oscar and Jacob, but there was good interplay between him and William.
Mhm.
There could have been a thing that could have delved more into, and a
Yeah.
different actor playing Harlinger. Yeah, I get the idea of the benefactor, believing in what he did and having his own reasons. And maybe the plan could have been that why did it have to be a secret to the last minute? Made no
Yes.
sense.
That was a weird decision, but I'm like,
Wahaha! I gave you all this so you could save me. Surprise! Like, huh?
and then I was sitting here thinking, Victor's right for once out of this whole thing because I work in pharmaceutical and he is definitely right because they didn't have antibiotics that back then, and he had syphilis. That would have already spread over everywhere, even his brain, especially his
Mhm,
brain, because it just it just munches on it. So what he was asking is to swap his brain that's already has a syphilis all over it to put it in the new body, but it's like that's not going to save you, dude. That who knows what that's going to do actually.
mhm,
And the interesting thing about that, for me at least, from a medical standpoint, is what if it wasn't syphilis? What if it was something else that didn't reside in the brain? And also, too, what is a soul? Like, I don't know if this is a weird religious topic, but it kind of comes out because it's like if he would have, let's say he didn't have syphilis and he wanted to transform his brain and put it
mhm.
into the other body, would he be the same person? Do you think his
Well, is that question not still been asked today? Like you brought
yeah.
up the topic of AI. and the idea that we're going to implant chips or we're going to upload our consciousness, is it going to be our consciousness or is it going to be an artificial construct? That is the eternal question, and that's why these stories still resonate,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
we haven't answered them, we still don't know. And I think uh go to Douglas Adams, for example. Uh Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
yeah,
I mean, the planet Earth was designed as a supercomputer to try and answer the questions of the meaning of life, etc. You know what I mean? It was that's how much computation it needed, and it was going to take thousands of years. It was still um, we don't have the capacity to understand. We're such complex random occurrence. Life is such a complex random occurrence of chemical reactions, electrical impulses, and something else. It's we can mimic it. You can't create it. Even now, cloning is can only be done at the basic level. We can't actually just take nothing and make
yeah.
life.
It's so isn't that theory so just interesting?
Oh yeah, you can nerd about it for hours.
The only thing that came out of Elizabeth's mouth or out of the Elizabeth character that I appreciated is her quote, "Ideas by themselves are not worthwhile." So, which I loved because that kind of made a overall arc of, yeah, you might have all the ideas about popping this brain and putting this, putting that, but if it's just an idea in your head and you're not doing anything about it, it's not worthwhile. If you're not,
Well,
you know.
that's why I always have when I have interviews and talk about people, about creativity. I always say to those that are thinking, don't just think, do something.
Yeah.
It's okay having the I'd love to do this or blah blah blah. Try it, and do you know what? If it fails, so be it. At least you've tried,
Exactly.
and you don't know
Exactly.
what that might unlock. That you didn't realize was going to unlock. Say somebody wants to try and be a podcaster, and
Mhm.
they completely fail at it, but by trying that, they discover something else that they never even realized. That's um. Don't be passive in life.
That is very true. Do not be passive in life. Try to do something cuz ideas are not worthwhile if they're just ideas,
Mhm.
you know? If you have an idea, figure out how you can bring it to life, whether it's a movie, whether you want to do a comic book, a podcast, write a novel, whatever it is you want to do, just go out there and do it. I mean, this was a passion project and it's become larger and yeah, like just get out there, do it. You may stumble, you may find things that you may not like or whatever, but as long as you get out there and you do it and then you find what works and doesn't work and then you go after the stuff that keeps working and you keep going from there. So always a good time.
Oh yeah,
Always a
yeah.
good time. Did you have um anything else to add about Frankenstein, Colin?
No, it's just an enjoyable movie. Like I said, a couple of bit. Well, I won't say it's like a life changing one, is because there's too many elements in it that sort of take you out and stutter and make you go, why are you doing this? Um, but all in all, it's a good movie. It's looks beautiful, like you can't take away from that, and the fact that it's practical lets you can forgive a lot of things because you can see that the efforts are. Del Toro wants to take you into the story. You get that feeling of intent, and I always talk about that. Is if you feel that the director doesn't care or the cast don't care, then you don't. But even though I've got criticisms of some of the cast, I felt like they cared, they wanted to do their best, they wanted to tell you this story. So I can't be too harsh on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a little bit of a bias because it's Guillermo, and I've been obsessed with this stuff since, I don't know, everything. It
Pan's
was
Labyrinth still sits with me. Pan's Labyrinth is one of those movies. Like that's a classic. That's a
Oh, yeah.
game changer. That's always one that's going to sit in your head.
That is a benchmark for him. I absolutely
No,
love
but
it.
not just him. I mean, for movies, like
Yeah,
that is one. If you ever ask me, like top 10 influential movies, Pan's Labyrinth is one of them.
Pan's Labyrinth. Yeah. I as you have may heard me from, doing podcasts with me in the past, I'm a big fan of horror, fantasy horror. So Pan's Labyrinth is like number 1 in my tier list of fantasy horror. And if you really want a fantastic fantasy horror movie, Guillermo can definitely bring it. I would love for him to continue in this monster theme. Maybe next time we can get.
He's gone back to stop motion. He left a hint.
Oh,
The reason he's doing a stop motion one next.
no. I was like, no,
Pinocchio
I would
2.
like another, please. Another Grim Tale, baby. That'd be cool. I'd like another, please. I've had one. I'd like another, please. We'll call it if you have no more questions. Last but not least, what would you rate this as out of 5 stars? We'll do 5 stars this time.
I'll give it a solid 3.
Oh, okay. I will give it a solid 4. I would have scored it a little higher, but the CGI and a few weird hitches here and there with characters. But yeah, it's a solid 4. It's fun. Beautiful costumes, awesome effects. And that's what more do you want, from a Guillermo del Toro movie? Well, where can we find you, Colin, for those that have loved you and loved what you're doing over at the Horrific podcast? Where can they find you? And let's plug you
Oh,
in for a little bit there.
all right. Well, mainly YouTube. That's our main platform. Facebook, X, Instagram.
Awesome.
We have a
Okay.
Discord server as well if anyone wants to come in and chat. And also, Horrific Tales Volume 4, Eldritch Terror, releases this Friday. You can pre-order the Kindle
Ooh.
version now.
So yeah, definitely send me the link for the Discord. I'd love to join that and chat with the other fellow horror movie aficionados. So guys, whether you're a fan of Mary Shelley, a lover of gothic cinema, or someone who just wants to see a new Guillermo del Toro movie, there's no doubt that this adaptation is worth the anticipation. And I want to thank you so much for joining Colin and myself for this deep dive into Frankenstein. And if you enjoyed today's show, make sure you subscribe, stay tuned. We're going to be doing some other stuff as well on the channel. And until next time, I hope that you remember monsters aren't born, they're made.
Very, very true.
See you guys later.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.
Hello, boils and ghouls. It's your old pal, John Cusier, the voice of the Crypt Keeper. And I want to thank you for listening to Delight and Fright with your hosts, Luna and Cat, a podcast for outcasts.